Hello students. So today we will be starting the module 2, and as you remember that in the module 1 we have tried to understand basics of ecosystem. So we discussed the ecosystem, ecology, their definitions, levels of ecological organizations. You remember we discussed about species, population, community, etc. And in the ecosystem, we tried to understand how to really go for this complicated and complex ecosystem processes. So, we discussed the structural and functional unit. Structural unit was having the biotic, abiotic, and functional unit talked about the processes. Ecosystem function and process we discussed, dynamic system states of ecosystem like growth, balance and the decay we discussed, hierarchy of ecosystem processes followed by case examples. And if you remember the case examples, we actually discussed two interesting cases, the desert greening as well as the Chernobyl. So, with this understanding, now we are quite ready to go for deeper understanding of the ecosystem. So, in this week's module, what we are going to cover? We are planning to cover the ecosystem types, so that whenever you look at any ecosystem, you should be able to categorize them. How we categorize them? We categorize them based on logic, different factors like physical environment, biological components, climate, vegetation, location and interactive networking. But before going into the types, I would also like to talk about what else we will be discussing this week. We will also discuss the concepts and theories of ecosystem. More you read about this ecosystem and more questions come to you, you have to answer yourself. And there these concepts and the theories will always help you to understand the ecosystem all around us better. So, each ecosystem we know it is interconnected with each other, and we will be discussing this interconnectedness again and again. Ecosystem processes and functions are natural mechanisms through which ecosystem maintain the balance, produce resources and support life. What are the key factors influencing ecosystem types? As we have discussed already, the climate, the soil, the topography, these are the abiotic factors. Along with that, the biotic factors, the interaction between different species such as predation, competition and symbiosis shape the structure and the function of an ecosystem. Ecosystem types now. Each ecosystem type has its unique processes and functions which make them very distinct, but they all contribute to the Earth's environmental stability. That is a major role they play. Now, let us go for some major ecosystem types: terrestrial, the land based, the aquatic, the water based, transitional in between these two major ecosystems, and the microbial ecosystem, which is one of the most important ecosystem, but so tiny that many a times we forget them. And the last one, but not the least, that is the artificial or human modified ecosystems. Each category contains several subtypes with specific characteristics and roles in maintaining ecological balance, and we will be discussing these subtypes as well. So, let us see under terrestrial the subtypes: the forest, grassland, desert, tundra. Aquatic is having two different subtypes, the freshwater and the marine water. Freshwater, the subtype will be lentic and lotic, we will be discussing them. Under marine ecosystem also we have several different types of ecosystems: ocean ecosystem, coral reef ecosystem, estuaries. The transitional, I will go for two very important examples of transitional types, that is wetlands and mangrove. Microbial, we will discuss that. Artificial or human modified, that is urban, agriculture, aquaculture and industrial. So, these are 4 human modified ecosystem types which we see around us most of the time. Ecosystem types, now one by one we will look at them, the major types, and we will try to understand how to categorize them, what to remember for each one of them. Terrestrial ecosystems are land-based ecological systems where interactions of climate, soil, fauna and vegetation shape their structure and function. They are always very dynamic and very diverse. Terrestrial ecosystems experience seasonality. Water scarcity and temperature extremes influence them, demanding adaptation and resilience from organisms happen due to these changes. Now, let us go for very important part, certain key ecological features which we can discuss under structured process of structure, process, function and disturbances. Like under structure, we can see the biodiversity hotspots, rich flora and fauna, genetic resources and species richness. Soil dynamics is the process, and another important process is the energy flow. Nutrient cycling, soil fertility, productivity, and under the energy flow we discuss plants capture the solar energy, energy transfer through the food chains. Climate regulation is one of the most important function this particular terrestrial ecosystem offers through carbon storage, oxygen release and regulation of hydrological cycles. The disturbances to this particular terrestrial ecosystem can be brought by the human impacts, deforestation, farming, urbanization, climate change, etc. leads to the biodiversity loss and imbalance. So, these key ecological features for the terrestrial systems are unique. So, now let us go for examples of each one of these types. So, the major type is terrestrial ecosystem and the other subtypes are under this particular major are forest, grassland and if you remember the desert and the tundra system. So, forest, all of us we have seen forest, dense vegetation dominated by trees. It is having presence in the tropical region, temperate region as well as boreal regions. So, what different type of processes are involved? Obviously, photosynthesis the primary producer, then respiration, the trophic level maintains, the nutrient cycling and the decomposition so that the cycle continues. What are the functions we get out of the forest? Carbon sequestration, oxygen production, climate regulation, habitat provisions. We also get wood, we also get lot of fruits and other good things. Likewise, the second one under the terrestrial ecosystem we will be discussing, that is the grassland. Open landscape with grasses. You can look around and you can see only grasses primarily. So, that is the dominant vegetation. We see this type of ecosystems in the savannas, in the prairies and the steppes. What processes are involved here? Grazing dynamics. Many animals you can find here. So, nutrient recycling through herbivory, that is the major process involved, and the fire ecology. So, nature itself has a control system through this fire ecology. The functions what it offers to us: soil fertility maintenance, carbon storage and habitat for herbivores and definitely erosion controls. The third type of terrestrial ecosystem, that is the land based ecosystem, is the desert ecosystem. I do not know how many of you have seen desert, but definitely through movies and TVs you have seen the desert. Arid regions, very less rainfall annually, less than 250 mm. Sparse vegetation, full of sands, adapted to heat and water scarcity. They are found primarily between 15° and 30° latitude in both the north and south hemispheres. What are the processes involved? Water conservation, because that is the demand of the nature. Evapotranspiration is also very much controlled, and very different type of species are actually available there. And mineral weathering, that is also another process involved here. The functions we get out of this desert ecosystems are habitat for drought adapted species. They are very unique. You can easily identify them. Nutrient cycling in arid regions, climate adaptation. And the last ecosystem under terrestrial ecosystem group is tundra ecosystem. Cold, treeless region with permafrost. Always the water is in a solid form. Found in polar and alpine areas. And in this particular ecosystem, we will see again some unique processes, very low decomposition, freeze and thaw, nutrient recycling, and limited plant growth because of that particular climate type. Function it offers, that is a carbon storage in permafrost. So, it also stored the water. Climate regulation and unique biodiversity maintenance is its another function. So, this is a very nice image you can see here, as I have pointed out tropical regions, temperate one, subarctic and the arctic region. You remember the tundra is there, boreal forest is here, the temperate forest and grassland is here. We will also see tropical forest as well as the grassland, both are available in the tropical region. So, the grassland is available both in tropical as well as temperate region, and desert is available again in both the regions. So, dryness is actually increasing. So, we are getting from the forest to the desert, and we can see the temperature here is according to the latitude position, the temperature is decreasing. So, that is the way you please read this particular image for your own understanding. Aquatic systems is the next major type which we will be discussing. Aquatic ecosystem are water based ecological systems where interactions among water, nutrients, aquatic flora, fauna and physical chemical conditions shape structures and functions. You remember aquatic with the water, that is the very first point we have to remember. How this aquatic ecosystem is getting influenced? It is influenced by the light penetration, because solar energy is most important source for our all the activities. So, light penetration, salinity, dissolved oxygen and nutrient availability, these will be taking care of the aquatic ecosystems growth and decay. This will determine productivity as well as the biodiversity. Again, let us look at the key ecological features for this aquatic ecosystems. We will be discussing under the structure, process, function and disturbances. The first one is the structure, biodiversity hotspots, coral reefs, estuaries, mangroves with high species richness and nursery habitats are the major biodiversity available in this particular ecosystem. In the process, we will discuss two major processes, that is nutrient cycling and the energy flow. We have discussed it earlier also in our first module, that the phosphorus and nitrogen cycling and primary productivity and decomposition, through these processes the nutrient cycling is continuously on. And what happens to the energy side? Algae and the phytoplankton capture the solar energy. Even if they are in the water, they can capture that and then transfer through the zooplankton, fish and then to marine mammals. And again that death, decomposition, that thing happens. Function, the climate regulation, oceans absorb carbon dioxide. Ocean is one of the maximum absorber of carbon dioxide. So, it regulates global temperature as well as CO2 and influence rainfall patterns. Disturbances, again there are a lot of human induced impacts here, water pollution, eutrophication, coral bleaching, these are the impact we can see out of this interventions. Over exploitation of fisheries and plastic waste are really creating a lot of trouble to this aquatic ecosystems sustainability. So, today we will be discussing two major ecosystem types under the aquatic ecosystems. One is the freshwater ecosystem, the other one is the marine ecosystem. The first one, the aquatic system with very low salt concentration, that is the freshwater. How low it is? 0.5 parts per thousands. So, the good examples to remember freshwater ecosystems, they are all around us, rivers, lakes, ponds, and they provide critical ecological and human services. There are two subdivisions further into these freshwater ecosystems to understand the system better. First one is the lentic ecosystem, still or slow moving water bodies like lakes, ponds, wetlands. And in this ecosystem, the processes involved are sediment deposition, nutrient cycling, thermal stratification, decomposition. And they offer many different type of functions like water storage, biodiversity habitats, groundwater recharge, flood buffering, very important. And the second type is the lotic, that is the flowing water bodies, rivers, streams. So, the processes obviously will have a flow dynamics, sediment transport, aeration, nutrient cycling. So, the functions from this lotic ecosystem, if we notice, they are again different. Irrigation and drinking water supply, fisheries, nutrient distribution and landscape shaping. These are the prime functions which we get out of them. Next one is the marine ecosystem, aquatic system with salted water and are found in oceans, seas and coastal areas. They are home to a wide range of species and support large scale biodiversity. Very quickly, let us go through its subtypes like oceans, you know oceans, sediment deposition, nutrient cycling, thermal stratification and decomposition are the prime process involved, and functions are water storage, biodiversity habitats, groundwater recharge and flood buffering. Next important marine ecosystem is coral reef, diverse and complex underwater ecosystem built by coral animals. Do not forget they are the animals. Flow dynamics, sediment transportation and aeration and obviously nutrient cycling. The more you get interested into coral reefs, you can really look at how continuously they are contributing into our process. Function they support high marine biodiversity, natural coastal barriers against storms and erosion, and serving as vital hubs for marine food webs on which the world is now dependent, and nutrient cycling. And the third one under the marine ecosystem which I will be discussing is actually a combination of freshwater and the marine ecosystem, that is the estuaries, where river meets the sea, characterized by mix of fresh and salt water. So, tidal mixing, nutrient trapping, high primary productivity, they are the processes involved, and the function we get nursery grounds, water filtration, shoreline stabilization, carbon sequestration. So, this was the aquatic ecosystem. Now let us come for the next type, that is the transitional ecosystem. This transitional ecosystem are the ecosystem which are actually again a combination of the two major types, the land based and the water based, terrestrial and the aquatic. So, highly productive ecosystems due to nutrient enrichment, hydrological mixing and diverse flora and fauna, but are also among the most threatened ecosystems globally. Let us see the key ecological features for this transitional ecosystem. Biodiversity hotspots, harbor rich bird, fish and plant diversity act as a breeding and nursery grounds. Process involved hydrological and nutrient cycling as well as energy flow. The ecosystem service it offers like flood controls, shoreline stabilization, groundwater recharge, carbon sequestration, habitat provision. And again they are, as mentioned earlier, they are highly impacted by human beings activities. Wetland drainage, deforestation of mangroves, aquaculture expansion, pollution, climate induced sea level rise. So, they are really harming this system. Let us have a quick look at a very important example of this transitional ecosystem, this mangrove forest. You can see that mangrove forest which is in between land and the sea. So, it is actually having lot of interactions between the seaside and the land side like sediments, nutrients, and it is also having lot of interaction with the seaside like organic material, storm buffering, habitat for migratory species and larval exports. So, that is the way these transitional systems become unique and very significant to maintain both the sites, both aquatic and the land based system. Next one we will be discussing these two in details. First one is the mangrove. As I was mentioning, mangroves are the intertidal forests found in tropical and subtropical coastal regions dominated by salt tolerant trees and shrubs. They serve as vital buffers between land and sea. The processes involved sediment trapping, tidal water filtration and nutrient cycling, organic matter decomposition in anaerobic soils and high primary productivity from mangrove vegetation and detritus tree. Functions involved coastal protection, carbon storage, it is a blue carbon and that is very important as we were mentioning for the oceans as well, and oxygen release, nursery grounds for fish and others, livelihood support through fisheries. So, the second example of the transitional ecosystems are the wetlands. It is a water saturated ecosystem. Generally, it may be land and freshwater or land or aquatic marine system. And the processes involved will be water cycle and nutrient trapping, sediment deposition and organic matter decomposition, high primary productivity. And it also provides very important functions like flood regulation, stormwater buffering, groundwater recharge and water storage, habitat, carbon sequestration, and last but not the least important, that is the water purification. And we are coming to the next important major type, that is the microbial ecosystem. They are the ecological systems dominated by the microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, archaea, protozoa and viruses that interact with their physical and biological environment. They exist everywhere in soil, water, air, human and animal bodies, extreme environments also. Despite their microscopic scale, they actually drive the global biogeochemical cycles and results in the ecosystem stability. They are highly resilient, diverse and dynamic, capable of thriving under any extreme conditions. If we need to remember their key ecological features, like their biodiversity reservoir, nutrient cycle and energy flow, you will see how different they are from the other ecosystems. The ecosystem services they offer, like they regulate the nutrient cycles, support primary production, drive decomposition and energy flow, maintain stability and resilience. And the human impacts on this system are antibiotic overuse, pollution, land use change, climate change is altering this microbial diversity. So, we are really losing many beneficial microbes as a result. This is a very good graphics. So, you please take out your time to read this particular slide properly, and do not forget to look at this mycorrhiza, how they are linked with each other, they are linking with the tree roots, and they are actually becoming the connector between the trees. We will be discussing it in our next lectures as well. So, please read this particular slide carefully. And the last ecosystem types we will be discussing, that is the artificial ecosystem. This is human made. So, it is a system designed, modified or managed by humans, and it replicates, alter or optimize natural processes. They transform natural landscapes into urban or agricultural or aquacultural or industrial environment, and they can support biodiversity if managed sustainably. So, definitely there also we will have several key ecological features like human designed landscapes, agriculture, ecosystem services, food and water supply, goods and services production, livelihoods, carbon storage in agroforestry. This is very important because these ecosystem services are probably attracting so many people in today's time into the urban ecosystem, and it is also having long lasting impact through its over exploitation, pollution creation, habitat loss. So, these are something we need to really be cautious about. So, we can now summarize today's lecture, that today we started with the different type of ecosystems, the major types and the subtypes under them. So, major types we discussed in details as well are the terrestrial, aquatic, transitional, microbial and the artificial ecosystem. So, with this we can say thanks for today's class.